Hey everybody, welcome to leg number 8 of Trail Talk here. And I have some mixed emotions. This next leg is from Hot Springs to Erwin. However, at my hiking pace, I had to do it as 2 legs. But it's about 68 miles and some change. And most people could probably do this by now. I mean, you're 273 miles into your northbound through hike. You're probably able to do these longer legs. I couldn't, so therefore, for me, I had to break this up. But I'm going to go ahead and call this leg 8 because I think as my initial plan was to try and do it. Okay, but as I executed it, I ended up not being able to do it in one leg and had to jump in off the trail to resupply and come back out again. So I'm going to go ahead and treat this as if it is a one-leg event, because for most people it will be, but at least those who maybe find themselves in the same situation as I did where you can't will be able to at least benefit from that. Okay, so what was going on with me at this time as I came out of Hot Springs is I had a friend that was coming out to rendezvous with me, and that required some timing, and he was working his vacation time in, so he wasn't really flexible. I'm the one that had the flexibility. Okay, and so I think Hamfist and I, as we kind of came, because we shared a room in Hot Springs. So as we came out of Hot Springs and started the climb up, we were actually going to come here to this little pond campsite, and we were going to stay the night. So we didn't jump out of town real soon that morning. Matter of fact, if I remember right, there may have been no, that was Irwin. Never mind. Got my towns mixed up for a second. So as we came out of Hot Springs and we hiked up, it wasn't. Matter of fact, I think we even waited till that bar opened up across from the Outfitter, and went and had a good hamburger. I think I bought Rabbit a meal that day because he was kind of hurting. So we got kind of a late start, and the idea was we would just go to this pond campsite. Well, Hamfist got ahead of me somewhere, but by the time I got here, he was nowhere to be found. Wasn't sure if he had, and I think what ended up happening is he may have jumped off the trail to use the bathroom, and I missed him because he ended up staying here. I ended up thinking that he had left, so I kept going. All right, and so I kept going, and I went over I went over US 70 here. There are a couple of places that you could kind of camp up here just off the road, but I thought the noise would be way too much. And so I just kept pressing, and I got up here about it was getting almost dark about the time I got up here to this rich mountain, and there was a hammocker and a couple of tenters that were up there at this little campsite, and so I stayed the night there. Well, what that ended up doing, and I've got a photo of me on the tower with the view in the background. I'll go ahead and throw it in here so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so what that ended up doing, instead of staying here, because I had to be, my rendezvous with my friend was down here at Allen Gap the day after the next day. So I had this problem in that now I went so far, and basically I was just going to stay here for the night and then descend down because I was supposed to meet him at noon. So if I could have gotten here, I would have ended up zeroing at the shelter. So what I ended up doing is just kind of chilling out and just enjoying my hike. And I slept in this morning, and I think I didn't even wake up till like 9:30 or something like that, and got up and went up to the lookout tower and came back down and broke camp and just had a very nice leisurely hike. Got into the Spring Mountain Shelter area early enough. There was a burnout, if I remember right, walking through an area where there had been quite a bit of undergrowth burned. I don't know if it was on purpose, through a scheduled burn, or if it was just forest fire. And got to the shelter area here and had plenty of time to kind of get set up, and there's bare cables there, and just kind of chill out a little bit. Then that next day then had a pretty good hike, mostly downhill down into Allen's Gap. And if I remember right, coming down this section right here is where I met the real hiking Viking. He had started out his hike in the north in Maine. They were going to let him hike Katahdin in December, but there was a storm that day, so he couldn't do it. But he started hiking south, and his Instagram photos were just, I got to see him on the trail about a month before I met him. And the snow this guy was going through was incredible up north, starting out that early of the year. And his goal was to get all the way into, the time I saw him get into Irwin, to Hot Springs, which was not a real problem for him. He was flying up this hill. So I got down here about an hour and a half early, and there's a little grandma's grocery store down here. It's called Grandma's. Kind of a little rundown place. They had a few. No, I wouldn't say there was any resupply items there. There's some toilet paper if you needed it. I bought I think one of those microwave cheeseburgers, and a Dr. Pepper and a Snickers bar, and that was like $9 or $10. So just kind of a treat for myself, and it was kind of like expensive. I waited for my friend Jesse to pick me up, and let me show you a picture as we rendezvous together. You'll see us here. All right, now while this turned out to be a great place to rendezvous on this road here at Allen's Gap, what I didn't look at, and I made it really rough on Jesse, is this ascent that we had to go on here. This was pretty hard on him getting up here to the shelter. And towards the end of the day, and this is basically right out of the car after having traveled 6.5 hours or 7 hours, leaving early in the morning to get up from Florida up there, throwing a pack on, and off we went. And that was pretty grueling to get back up here. And this is where I ended up rendezvousing with Hamfist again. He was actually up here in that shelter. Now, so to make things easier, when you look at this initially, you say, hey, look at this. We're up here almost 5,000 feet, and this looks like a nice ridgeline walk. This is going to be nice. And as we thought, so this is as far as we decided we would go that day. That's how far of a hike is that? That is, it's only 6.8. Yes, that's his first. This is really his first full day of hiking. So we're gonna take it easy, nice ridgeline walk, short of 7 miles. This turned out to be actually pretty brutal. What you see here is this word strenuous, and what it is they took the AT and moved it to the absolute ridge line, almost like a knife edge, and there's a 1.5 mile section here that is they have done that. They moved it, and it's a blue blaze trail that is called a bypass trail. And if it is bad weather, okay, there's the north and there's the south. Bad weather, you want to take this. This used to be the Appalachian Trail, so don't feel guilty if you have to take it because it's bad weather, because you are exposed up on the top here. There, you will be hit with lightning if it's storming up here, if you're up here hiking, because you are higher than anything else in the area here at 5,000 feet, because there's just some little scrubs and it's you. Now, right before we got to there, we experienced some really cool trail magic, where some hikers from last year had come back up that were from Carolina, and they were camping out for about 3 days, and there's a little sign on the trail to go up another side trail, and we went up and had lunch there, had some bologna sandwiches and chips and sodas and stuff, and they were doing breakfast for people if they got there early. It's really some really cool trail magic. This, like I said, this turned out to be a pretty difficult time, which meant we got to the shelter here pretty exhausted from doing this. Let me show you a picture of Jesse up on one of the ridge lines. All right. In addition to Jesse, there I also threw in a kind of a view of what it looked like up there that high on that ridge line. Very pretty. I actually enjoyed that day because there was some technical stuff you had to do. You had to do some little bit of rock climbing with your pack on, and I kind of enjoyed it. It was different. Um, um, let's see. We're pretty tired by the time I got down here to this shelter that night, and this next day was not a bad hike at all. A long descent coming down here into the Flint Mountain Shelter. Once again, we kind of set up these as long as shorter days because he was out here hiking kind of for the first time in a long time. So for my friend, we purposely kept these down, and I think that worked out for me in the end too because once we passed this Devil's Fork Gap, there are some long, hard climbs getting back into Irwin. So it worked out well to do this way because I could go in and resupply. So we got down to Devil's Fork Gap. This is the place where you see a lot of people where they cross and they have the little the little ladder over the fence and a beautiful path up through the meadow. You see that on a lot of people's videos. This is a pretty famous place to take a photograph of. Well, this is one of our first lessons learned. So we call Uncle Johnny's and say, hey, we want to come in. Can you help us out with some transportation? Sure, he says. What we didn't realize he was calling a shuttle driver, and then he got a percentage of that. So if we would have called the shuttle driver, the three of us could have gotten in collectively for $25. But instead, we called Uncle Johnny. I think it was $35 because Uncle Johnny took a cut of that. So this is a lesson learned. Call your own shuttle driver and get your own shuttle here at Devil's Fork Gap if you need to get into Erwin early. So we went into Erwin to do the resupply. Hamfest and I split it's called a cabin, but it was basically a room with two beds. And my buddy's wife was there to pick him up, so they stayed in a hotel. And so we went down and Uncle Johnny's, they have a bus service, and if you're there by lunch, which we were, you can get a ride into town and get pizza. They'll take you to a pizza buffet, and right across the street's a grocery store. You can get your resupply, come back out, and if you want to, you could jump back and head north again. If you miss the lunch and you get there, and if you get there before the evening shuttle, they will take you to a little bit further to, I think it's is it like Johnson City is what's striking me, Johnson City, where there's a Walmart, okay, and an Italian restaurant and a Mexican restaurant, and you can eat there, walk over to the Walmart, do your shopping, and they'll come over to the Walmart with a van and take you back to Uncle Johnny's. Okay, so it's actually a pretty convenient thing to do. So I did both. I went ahead and did my resupply and had all you can eat buffet pizza, which was also a salad bar, and I ate a lot of salad because that's what I was craving at the time. And then that night I just went in for some Mexican food. I didn't do a resupply. And then Jesse's wife was nice enough to take Hamfist and I back up to the trailhead, and here's a picture of all three of us together. As well as, I'm going to throw in a picture of this little cascade right here, right together with a picture of us, so you can see what that was. Kind of a nice little pretty cascade. Okay, so I said goodbye to Jesse, and Hamfest and I we started this next round of hiking And once again, we kind of got started late, so we did just a short day here to this Hogback Ridge shelter. Then, as you can see, some pretty good hiking. All right, that's 10 miles, and that's about what I was doing as a good day for me at this point in time. So I did the 10 miles there, and then you can see now we're going to start down a little bit, heading towards Erwin down here again. And you actually hike into Irwin. Before at Devil's Fort Gap, it was getting a shuttle into town. Now you're actually going to walk into Irwin. Okay, and so you can see that this is a pretty good hike. A lot of descending going on here down into No Business Knob Shelter. Continuing on, it continues, and then we finally start this descent into Irwin. And on the way down, you kind of come across quite a few areas where there's some views of Irwin, the river, the railroad track. So I'm going to go ahead and throw one in there now, as well as what I ended up coming across just after this is my first Pink Lady slipper as we're making this descent down. And this is one of those days where when we get down to Uncle Johnny's and I asked people if they saw the Pink Lady slipper and it was right next to the trail and nobody said they did, it kind of helped emphasize to me that, you know, there's more about the Appalachian Trail than just busting out the miles as fast as you can. There's actually some things to see, and I guess maybe for me, hiking a little bit slower, hike your own hike, that helped me actually enjoy things a little bit more. So here's a view down at the river, and a view of that Pink Lady slipper. Okay, I do not remember where I got this hitch illegal. This may have been something I picked up off of the White Blaze, or Baltimore Jack's notes that were on there for his hiking. I don't remember where that came from. But I'll show you the layout of the city here, and you'll see that literally you come down out of the mountains and you cross this bridge, and Uncle Johnny's literally is on that corner right there. Okay, you can't literally get to the bridge without seeing the big Uncle Johnny's right there in front of you. So you can see it's very very close to the trail and very advantageous. And then once you cross and you head up, you go back, you start back up again. And if I remember right, down here there was a big hiker feed. So the day that we left, there was actually a nice hiker feed that a church had put on for us there, and that was kind of cool. I had a friend hiking just a little bit ahead of me that told me the Caruso Farms. He went there and he really enjoyed it, and you can see they have shuttle, they have laundry. Now let's just talk about a little bit about the good and the bad of Uncle Johnny's. Uncle Johnny's, it's close to the trail. They have the shuttles that take you down into town, and once again, if you see, this is north, this is south, so Johnson City with the Walmart is pretty far away. Okay, so you definitely need transportation if you're gonna go very far. He stayed at Caruso Farms, and he really liked it, recommended it. I ended up staying at Uncle Johnny's twice. If I had to do it over again, in this particular scenario that I did, I would have gone Caruso Farms first, and then maybe tried Uncle Johnny's second on the way out of town. Uncle Johnny's internet was not real great. The showers were okay. I didn't do the bunk room. I did the kind of the private cabins, but honestly, I think it was like 40 for me. It was 50, so it was 25 for each of us. So it was a little bit more than the bunk room. Now you can take a shower without a stay there. Okay, the laundry you got to pay for, and there's one machine for all those people that are staying there at Uncle Johnny's. There's a lot of capacity there. but you can't use it until after like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So people were doubling up. 2 and 3 people would do laundry together. First time I did that, the last time I did that. Okay. You end up with other people's stuff. Your stuff gets lost. Too much stuff, it doesn't get clean. Some people are dirtier hikers than you, and they really muck up the water. Like I said, I think I washed my stuff with 2 other people. That was the first time, and that was the last time I ever did that. And we were up until all hours of the morning trying to get our laundry done because everybody's just waiting in line. Let's see. Later on in that season, I heard some real horror stories that was going on there with some alcohol and people kind of being out of control, if you will. Some people ended up getting fired, if I remember right. So there were some rumors on the trail about some pretty negative stuff. Didn't experience it myself. I say my biggest frustration was just being able to get the laundry done. To be honest with you, you couldn't complain about the shuttles into town to get resupplied and to get food and everything. So and you can't. I couldn't complain about the accessibility to the trail there. So anyway, as I said, not to say anything bad about Uncle Johnny's, but I think I would have liked to have had this experience at Caruso Farms. Anyway, I mean, I said they'll pick you up from the trail. So anyway, and they offer some slack packing and things like that. So, and they're not too far. If I remember right, this is a little deceptive. This is actually, I don't think you would want to walk down to here. That's a 2.5 mile scale there. I suppose you could go down there, but I think you'd probably rather have them shuttle you down. So anyway, everybody, so that's what I'm calling leg 8. Like I said, probably most people can do it all in one leg, but if you need to, you can jump off there at Devil's Fork Gap and get a shuttle in and do a resupply and come back out and keep going. Now, right after that, I take that back. Right after Devil's Fork Gap, as we started back up, there was a new hostel. Well, there's a hostel in the book that went out of business, but then there was another one that was starting up. So there is a hostel, and they might do some shuttles into town. So check your 2017, 2018 books for that. So there might be a way to not have to go all the way into Erwin and stay at Uncle Johnny's if you wanted just to stay at the hostel, do a little resupply, and then keep going, and then go back into Erwin on that second part of that leg. So. All right, everybody, that's all I've got for you today. Have a good one, and remember to always keep hiking and to hike your own hike.